All right, so today, as I mentioned a few minutes ago on the screen, you should be logged in and get your opening chat comment. We are going to talk about the writing projects that you selected from chapter 7. You have about 5 minutes before I send you the invite for that discussion. And I have about 4 people on here. I don't know what groups you're in. And let's see, I have one. Right now I have one eclectic group, and that group is going to be Cole with number 8 and Rodnisha. The problem is Rodnisha isn't here right now. So Cole, you're just hanging by yourself at the moment. And if that's the case, you're still gonna be in my eclectic group. I'm just gonna join you. So
what project was that, out of curiosity?
Cole has number 8 and Rodnisha had number 7. So I have the screen up. If you are on your computer, you can still click on here and let me.
I mean, I signed up for project 1, but it's been more difficult than I anticipated. Apparently, I'm not good at writing nonfiction.
Well, this is the place to suck at it, because this is where you're gonna try to get better at it. If you signed up, that's the group you're in. Right now.
Okay, then.
And that's Jamie M.
Jamie 1. No, I'm kidding. Yes, Jamie.
So I don't right now. I need Hannah, Jesusa, and Katie. I don't know. I didn't see you in the sign up area. So that's.
You got me then?
I messaged you privately.
No, none of that. That's great. When? Last week? Or what? How? What kind of message? Just now?
Yeah, in the chat.
Okay, so what I'm asking, if you have access right now to a computer, it would still, for record, to go on Blackboard and select the ones. I will look in the chat just for it, but for record, I need you to go there. And then Jamie M, if you said, I'm taking you for Jamie M because your name isn't there for number 1.
Not there. I put it for bloody, I believe it was assignment 1. Hold on a minute.
All right. I'm just telling you what's in front of my eyes. I will.
Oh, I believe you. I'm just confounded, as Ralph said.
No, I will put you in that group. I had a large group, so that would actually go and let me break that group up, because right now, well, that group has 5 people in it. I had a lot of people for option 6. So people who pick option 6, I have 2 groups. I split you up. There are 3 people in each, so that makes that a little manageable. When I have 5, I just go ahead and let that group be big.
Oh, I see what I did wrong. I didn't hit OK after I clicked on it.
All right, so I will make sure I move you into breakout.
I already put myself there, but yes, please do.
All right.
Sorry.
And so I'm just. Oh, that's right. So yeah, that group right now is large. I had 6, but I see one person has yet to log on, so I don't know if that person's going to come or not. So then that group is going to have 5 people in it, and I want the large groups to know this so you can manage your time, your 15 minutes or so. So we will be reporting out after this discussion. So let me just recap the groups. So for 1, I have, and I'm not going to record this part. You don't need me saying names. So I can see all hands are raised, and I will do my best to keep up with the report we had. I ended up having 2 groups for writing project 1 out of chapter 7. So we're just going to go through order. And I also had 2 groups for writing project 6.
And the devil said, I'll start this show. Are we doing the discussion thing?
Are we doing the question thing?
Discussion.
Yes, we are. So you should have decided who is reporting out, and I'm just going to, you should be able to
speak for the peeps, or at least the people in my group.
All right, so we're starting with the first one, and that group, the first group I had, yeah, Tom, Lacey, and yeah, Alicia, I think.
What?
Option one, I had 2 groups for option one. So,
My group had Thomas, who you see there, Jesusa, and myself.
all right, was it option one?
Yeah.
Okay, I have 6 people, 2 groups are going to talk. Oh, I think I just heard, I lost somebody. All right, so your group can go ahead. So I have, what I'm saying is there are 2 groups reporting out on this option because there's so many people. All right, so I have it on the screen. You had to make a list of stuff in your favorite childhood. Is that right? All right. Who is?
Jamie, if you wanted to go first, I can go second.
That's cool.
Okay. So we all had like Thomas and Jesusa were doing like cafes, and I chose a Starbucks in a Meijer because I used to work at Meijer, so I was there all the time.
Okay, so we have 3 different locations, and what I didn't get to speak to every group because I didn't have time to get to every group, is that what we need in this report out is basically how did you use the gist of the learning in that practice? So you had to do this pattern to organize your piece. So how did you all, what's your takeaway from what you learned from each other? That's how did you use pattern to create whatever iteration that piece is in? That's takeaways.
I know how I did. We didn't really get to that far.
Okay, well, how about the other group? Because I had 2 groups on this. Did y'all talk about that at all?
We kind of touched on it. I know I used patterns as to like how I introduced each object in my room. And then I think Bradley was saying, or he was mentioning something about how he used his pattern to like how things in every room that we're describing, like they're going to be central to that room. So like in Allison's, she did hers on the kitchen. So things that are going to be in her room are going to be like forks and plates and like cooking ware and stuff like that. No.
Okay, so they were, at least they had this broader category in which they fit into, cookware or dishes and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. The other, because like I said, this was a big group. Anything else from either one of those groups about how you use this idea of pattern to complete this practice, this actually task, and that you learn energy from each other and how people approach this? Okay, so I don't mean to seem like I'm changing the rules on you when you come into this big group, like, hey, you're asking us something that you didn't ask us before. So I want to try to be as clear as I possibly can, at least now in the moment. When you go into those small groups and discuss, I want to honor the individual work that you did, but since it's not like a complete like writing workshop, the idea is trying to get at the crux of what you practice. And for this chapter, we're all talking about patterns. So really, when you're sharing what you did around that particular writing project, how does that help you understand maybe, you know, something about the intent of the chapter, how pattern actually works? And I heard a little bit of when you said like this person shared that, you know, the category was like kitchenware, cookware, things like that. So that helps us at least understand how one person approached it around the types of objects that they had for the room or space that they were talking about. And that's good. But what I don't want to encourage that when we come back to this large group, that you're still coming back as individuals saying, I know what I did. I need you to know what someone else did. That's why you're talking to each other. Okay, so let me just pull up 5. I think that's our next one. And 5, I have up on the screen. And the other thing I want to just let everyone know, because we have basically one more week of doing this, so next week's going to be just on point, is that you are the experts for the writing project that you did for that chapter. So if there's anything in the directions like that you could help us understand, do that. And so you can't like report out to us like we all know, because you're the only ones who decided to look at that particular writing practice. And that's how we go from exchanging individual approaches in the group, report out as your takeaways from the group. And then as we hear all of these, the idea is that we're building, and I can leave this having known something about the other writing aspects that I didn't focus on. So, who's reporting out for option 5?
That would be me. So
Okay.
you came in and kind of focused us in on talking about patterns. And in the first part, we talked about how hard it is to find a word that goes well with the definition that has enough to write about without actually having to write too much. And we had like what I did home, another person did grief. But then we were like steered towards talking about patterns, and then we all realized it's really hard to find patterns. Initially we kind of went in and tried to find like mechanical patterns, and Afterglow is a really short piece, so it is very difficult to find any like mechanical patterns. But when we kind of worked through it, we kind of when we were looking for patterns, there is a bit of a pattern about not heat, but like flame, not really flame either, but yes, kind of flame.
Oh, someone said light. Is that the one? Someone said light?
Light, yes, light, flame. Moreover, it's like light going out, like a flame going out.
Okay,
like,
not to say like it's obvious now, because it wasn't, but it is obvious now as you're speaking.
Yeah, now looking at it, it's like,
Afterglow is the thing that happens after the light. Okay, yeah, now we know.
Sky after sunset, the light, disappearance of a flame, snuffing of a match, stuff like that. So we did finally find a pattern after a lot of like hypercritical focusing, but we didn't really get to the point where we could talk about working that into our pieces, though, unfortunately.
That's just fine, because everyone, even though you didn't look at this one, we can hear what I hope you take away is that the struggle of just trying, and since the piece is so short, you do have to like go through your, I'm about to date myself, your Rolodex, nobody knows what that is, your file cabinet or something, of possible ways to see what kinds of patterns going on. I mean, this should take you all the way back to even when I did the, that song Stuck in My Head. Like there's all kinds of ways to see how the how a model or a mode is happening in the piece. And when I told this group is, you can be 100% wrong, that's fine. If you're wrong about what the pattern you found, because what you're right about is putting in the effort to try to see what's going on. And that is where the energy should be in this chapter for trying to figure out how patterns work. And then my other thing for everyone, if you find yourself avoiding or just overlooking a key point of a practice or a writing project at this point, that's probably the thing you should go back and look at, because you're avoiding it for some conscious or unconscious reason. And if it's hard, that's beautiful. Just go ahead and keep like chipping away at it. So thank you for, that's just like our example of like talking this through. And when you're in those small groups, it's your job to like push each other. Like, okay, what are we really just focusing on the part that we did since we got to write? And did we actually address each part of, you know, the practice or the project that is asking us? And even having a discussion about like why we avoided it, because it was hard. Okay, now we know. And then we could think about how to come back to those difficult points when it comes to taking what you're doing and turning it into the tools of this craft that you're trying to improve. So though, and that was a lot of talking for me. But I'm gonna go on now. So six had a lot of people too. So I had 2 groups for 6.
Yeah. So for the first group, we were. Do you actually mind if I share my screen? Is that all right?
Go ahead.
All right,
Do you have permit? Yeah, go ahead.
I cannot do that while you were sharing, apparently.
Oh, let me stop.
But
Let me stop hogging the whole screen. So go ahead.
okay, cool. All right. So if you can see this, our entire thing was basically designing a new sentence based on a previous sentence. So what we had was, I'm using this as an example, the cat sat on the mat. So we had the conversation of how do you rephrase this and how do you design a new sentence using what's already there? Do you just like literally take it as it's written and say the mat sat the cat on? Or do you have to write it some other way, sitting on the mat, or sitting the mat on the cat did? Do you have to add in different things to change the different syntax of different words? And so that's kind of how I took it and how I approached the whole situation, changing each sentence that I had, the original being on the right here, with the new one on the left. And how I wrote it was just how, like I said, changing the slight syntax. But the more that I think about it, I think it would have been more fun. And I apologize to my group members about our previous conversation where I told you that one of your sentences was wrong. It was right according to the rules. But yeah, I think it's just really it was interesting. We all think we did it wrong, which was kind of funny. That was the first thing we all said. But it was fun. It was really fun.
So I love the phrase. I love the fact that you say, I told someone they were wrong, but you were right according to the rules. I'm like, it's always good to be right according to the rules. But I also call this, there's a Star Wars character who's really good at this. Does anyone know who I'm speaking of?
Yoda.
Exactly. Yoda,
You.
like the inverted king. So that's my contribution to when you first look at this, it's like, what is going on? But it is fun. And my contribution is like Yoda does this all the time. And now I know like why I appreciate how Yoda would speak, because it's in this interesting pattern that's sort of poetic and different. Like it makes you have to pay attention to what's going on, and it puts meaning and emphasis in places that your reader, the audience, may not be expecting, or even you as a writer, like, oh, look what I just did. This is awesome. And if there's anyone out there who speaks languages other than English, that's another place, or if you study them, or if you took Spanish in class like 8 times like I did, I know enough about Arabic and Spanish to appreciate patterns and how words can go and be fit together in ways that my mind doesn't normally in its comfort zone go and do. And so that's what I like about the inverted syntax. And if you do have those other languages in your repertoire, look at them for how things are ordered and what you might be able to bring and use that as one of your writing tools. Another group, I had 2 groups. So the other group, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I can just add that there's another aspect to the option 6, which is also, in addition to manipulating the syntax and the structure of the sentences, we were supposed to write about a piece, like a situation that was upside down as well. So that kind of reflected, so our syntax should reflect the message that we were putting across. And I think Evan was the one who wrote a poem about environmental destruction by humans, which is kind of interesting how I looked at it as like the environment destroys humans just as much as humans can destroy the environment. So that was kind of an upside down situation that paralleled the syntax inversion.
Yes. So yeah, those I found that this is not that the other ones weren't as interesting, but this one makes my brain turn on in a certain way to speak. Okay, thank you. And then I have my last group of eclectic people doing number 7, number 8, and we're gonna look at number 8 because I know the one person in that group at least attempted that, which was kind of piggybacking off of the last assignment that you all had.
I guess I'll talk about my process. I've only done the Pantome and Villanelle, and yes, I did piggyback off my first, off my chapter 10 poem, which is also a Pantome. Didn't completely copy and paste it, but kind of just changed things that I did.
But this one this one forced you to go ahead and look at 2 other ones. So you did say, how did that affect your brain, and do you?
Well, I will say that I will never do a Villanelle ever again. I hate it. It's bad. It's hard. I don't like it.
Okay, it is good to know what you do not enjoy and what you do not like. And you still have to go and do the sonnet, right? So that you can come back and see which, it would be nice to know which is the winner for you next week. My other 2 people, I know you were just getting started, but you did option 8 and option 7. I just want to bring it up so everyone can see what that option was. And it was at least a lot of instructions for it comparatively.
So I'm going to be doing option 7, and I kind of looked it over, and I've thought a little bit about it, but like they ask us to choose 26 words, and I feel like that's going to be one of the hardest parts of it, especially for like letters towards the end of the alphabet, because those are hard to come up with words for, especially when we're trying to think of something on a specific topic.
And Katie, what's your take on how are you going to complete this?
I'm doing option 8, not 7.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, my bad. Anybody out there know the Black Alicia song about the alphabet? You can just say, like, if anybody heard that? No? Okay.
Yeah, I've actually heard of it. Isn't it called Alphabet Aerobics?
Yeah, Alphabet Aerobics.
Yeah.
Is awesome. So when it might be an inspiration for you. Just if you do, you want to get like the lyrics, as he's rhyming that so fast. But it's like it's a staple of I see it. It's very poetic to me. It's a rap song, but it's a staple in like hip hop rap culture as like one of the most. It's complex. It has a complex rhyme scheme, and he uses all 26 of the alphabet. And people have written articles about alphabet aerobics. So it's an awesome piece, and that might be helpful just for you to hear in another genre what someone has done and been able to pull this thing off so expertly. Okay, so that's thank you. And like I said, we're going to move into writing time. So you're gonna have 25 minutes of writing time, and then we're gonna report out in the small groups. Let me stop sharing my screen and stop recording this. So it's gonna be a quick report out because we still need to get back to class. I still need my last like 7 minutes of class to I am just recording this last part of class. So I did try to put a message in there to say, hey, these are the last 3 minutes, so report out. I am going to leave you with the option to unmute yourself right now if you have a question, but I would still appreciate you if you raise your hand before you just unmute and start chatting. I'm just gonna go over a couple things at the end of the class, and don't forget to post your exit comment. And I will try to find the button I'm looking for here so I can share my screen. You should be finishing up your second practice from chapter 10. So that's due by Sunday. And I'm speaking this verbally. This is a verbal change. I'm not going to write it down anywhere. but the expectation is that you get that, you get the writing log, the writing logs for chapter 7 and the practice for 10, that you get those posted by this week Sunday. However, if you have whatever kind of issues that's delayed, I will not mark those items as late as long as they are posted before class starts on Tuesday. So that gives you some lifetime to play with, a few things here or there. So if that's okay, if that's if you have any objections to that, you can let me know. But if not, that's what we're going to do. But you just have to remember the links to submit. I don't think my screen is showing exactly how I want to, but I'm going to share it anyway right now, because I can fix it during office hours. So let me go to share screen. And switch to student view. Oh, I didn't make week 8 available. Yeah, it's not cooperating with me at the moment. Okay, so I'm not gonna worry about that too much. So I do have week 8, and as soon as it lets me make it available, let's see, well, let me do that. I'll do that now. But what I was saying is that the links to submit this week's assignments are in the current week. So if you're not submitting until Monday, you just have to remember, oh, I need to go back to week 7, because that's where those submission links are. So here in week 7, my recap. Scroll all the way down. It should say what's due by Sunday. Here we are. I'm trying to recap here. So what's due by Sunday? Oh, I did right there. Items submitted after 12 p.m. on next Tuesday will be late. So, you know, I'm doubting myself. I did put it in writing for you. So just keep that in mind. And these 2 items, so you should be submitting the writing log for 7 and then the genre form for 10. And I put this link here because the practice activity, this is the activity that I expect everyone to complete so that we can do at least 1 practice out of 8. So it's the 3rd activity in the text and is on page 166. What I'm asking you to do is to complete that activity. I want you to post your response or your response to this question, not your list. So I asked you to make a list and do this stuff. You're looking for insight and the insight chapter, but I do want you to post your answer to this question in Blackboard so it's there so people have stuff. But we're going to discuss it. So be ready to discuss your process for how you selected, basically how you completed this activity, and that's going to be our discussion. And if people are prepared ahead of time, we will have enough, 10 minutes will be enough to discuss this activity and move on to some other things. So the link is here. I have to turn on the actual practice activity, because if you click on it right now, it's only going to show you the options for the writing project. I say that because you have to remember this is where you're going to go by next week, Thursday. I'll remind you of this on Tuesday to select your option, your writing option. So I have to just turn on the link that shows the practice activity at the top, but it's going to have the exact same content that you see here. I just copied and pasted it from the text. So yes, I want you, this is evidence that you've completed it. You're going to post it right in there. And then when you come to class, doesn't matter what group you're in. Actually, we could just have this discussion and move on. I selected this piece because it's actually part of an earlier chapter. So when you go back, and I'm trying to, since we are only really having time to look at 1 practice a chapter, I'm trying to get the most out of the practices. So I selected Robinson's piece because it comes from the chapter on images. So even though you're looking at the piece on chapter 8, from chapter 8, so you're looking at insight, it's actually in chapter 4. So we're looking at, again, always layering. There's always more than one choice when we're looking at writing. So just pay attention to the fact that, oh, it's actually housed in the images chapter, but we're now talking about it in the insight chapter. So that's that. So in week 8, just to make sure everything is showing up correctly. So I made it available. I posted I think on the announcements that we were doing these reflective quizzes every week. We're not doing those anymore just because they didn't turn on for 2 weeks, and just let that go because I don't want to try to do makeup work for, it's not worth what you can get out of it since we missed it. So no worries about that. So you have most of the week, at least through Thursday, available. You're going to get started on the last genre practice from chapter 10. This one is different because it's the more challenging one. You have to choose one of these formats and write both a poem using that format or that genre and a fiction piece. So one approach, 2 different genres. And that's what makes this last practice a little more challenging than the other 2. So this is just a reminder that you want to get started on that because that one's going to be due November 1st. Next week, we're also going to start talking about workshops because next week is our last formal. Let's look at chapters 1 through 8, and then we're going to move into workshopping, and that's going to be just a whole nother fun format to get used to. So that's all I got for you.
For free?
You are.
Later!